today's show, I'm going to introduce you to Dawn Johnson. She is a trailblazing entrepreneur who is dedicating her life to empowering communities and changing lives through her business as the owner of an insurance agency and through her Just Dawn Johnson platform that is aiming to empower individuals through financial and women's empowerment initiatives. And guess what? She's on today's show to share the secret of how to become a successful entrepreneur. Dawn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
It is a pleasure and an honor to be sitting across from you. We've been knowing each other for a while now. And we were first introduced back in my college years when you were teaching about financial literacy, and to just see how you have expanded your business and your knowledge since then is amazing. So first of all, I want to tell you congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I know all the amazing things you do. I want to share that with our viewers. How did you step into the world of business?
Actually, I would say the seed was planted a very long time ago when I was young, probably about 6 or 7 years old. I watched my mother, who loved to cook, and she didn't have the financial resources or any resources whatsoever to really start a business, but she was so passionate. She ended up opening a mom and pop called Ma's Place in New York City. My mother may have had an 8th grade education, but she just was tenacious, and I watched her open this restaurant. It was small, but it was her passion and her love, and I just saw how pouring herself into her community by feeding them just made her so happy. So that seed was always in the back of my mind about, you know, when you're living your passion, that's what happiness is really all about.
Yes, and that triggered something inside of you to then start your own business. I know you have your roots in New York, but you all eventually moved to South Carolina.
Yes.
And it was the beginning there.
Well, we moved, I'm the youngest of 5, so I was the only one that had to move. My mom's home is St. Matthews, Orangeburg, South Carolina. So we moved to Orangeburg actually when I was 13, and I started high school in Orangeburg. And it was a culture shock.
Yeah.
So I had my sights on going elsewhere, so I went to Florida State University. I started my career with State Farm in Jacksonville, Florida on the company side. And it was a great career. It took me to Bloomington, Illinois after Jacksonville, where I was moving up the corporate ladder. And then some things happened health-wise with my parents, and I really had a yearning to get back home and closer to them. And entrepreneurship was the path back, owning my own State Farm agency, staying affiliated with what I had learned over the past 15 years, but being able to take ownership of my destiny through owning a State Farm agency, and then using that as a platform to serve my community the way my mom did.
And so now you have successfully ran your own insurance agency in York County, specifically in Rock Hill. How many years?
17 years in December.
17 years in December. Through that one outlet of reaching to people, because there's so many guys that she uses, but through that one outlet, what do you help your clients and people in the community do?
Absolutely. So initially, learning so much about financial literacy, State Farm did take a shift where they added to their platform retirement planning and banking and things of that nature, and I realized that there was a deficit. There were things that I was learning that I didn't know, and I really couldn't understand, like, why aren't we learning these lessons at a younger age? Because I felt like the trajectory of my life would have been different if I had that knowledge early on. So that became my passion, that I wanted to help younger people start to embrace and understand the financial tools available to them, to not to fear banking, to not fear all the different ways that they can save and invest their money. So that's where I decided to put a lot of my time and energy.
Yeah, and again, guys, that's how we first met, you know, through a financial literacy program. You were a guest speaker on campus for our sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, and it was very informative. I remember even back then what you were doing. Since then, though, 17 years in business, that's what you're teaching people, but what have you learned along the way yourself for you to be able to successfully run your business for nearly 2 decades?
It was about learning my resources. When I first started the agency, granted, I had the company that gave you certain information and tools, but it was more so about their products. Learning how to run a business, you really had to figure that out yourself. And what I realized along the way that I wish I'd learned early is that you don't have to do it by yourself. I think sometimes when you're a business owner, you feel like your plans and everything's so secret that you don't really want to talk about it with a lot of people. But I realized that the more you talk to people and try to uncover your resources that are in communities that other business people have, you will actually speed up whatever needs to happen. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of it may not be your time. I mean, and so the key, I think, is always assessing your market and your passion and checking in to make sure that you're always in alignment with what you want, that you're still happy, that you're still going to put everything into it. Because being a business owner, for me at least, it depends. You know, some people are serial entrepreneurs where they build businesses and they sell them and they move on to the next thing. You have to understand who you are and why you're doing what you're doing before you embark on that journey. So there's, I also co-founded an organization called BELL, the Black Economic Leadership League, and we do a lot of training in that regard, helping people make assessments and do all the legwork ahead of time. And even, you know, now if you're a seasoned business owner, you can still go this process, but it's when people don't begin with the end in mind is where I think they run into trouble. They don't know what they're shooting for. They're just kind of, oh, I love this thing and I'm going to do it until the wheels fall off. So that's the key.
Well, we're going to pause right there, Dawn, because when we return, we want to pick up the conversation where we left off. We want to hear more about BELL and how you're helping Black business owners, how you're helping just women in general that are seeking to become entrepreneurs. And we're going to talk about this big award that you just received. I mean, it's so much we have to still get to. So make sure you stay right here. More with Dawn Johnson coming up next.